Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Mobalytics video. Today we're covering 5 quick tips to climb ranks with Qiyana. Let us know in the comments if you enjoyed this video and if you have anyone in particular you'd like to see next. So we're going to start off this video with the main tip that you're probably all hoping for, and that's Qiyana's main one-shotting combos. Watching a good Qiyana in action is simply beautiful, so here's a few ways you can try and emulate that to show off to all of your friends. There are loads of different ways and variations that you can actually pull off Qiyana's one-shot combo, so here's a selection of the most common and applicable ways to do it. So this is the standard level 6 all-in without Prowler's Claw. You want to use your E to get on top of your target, optionally root them with your River Q so that you can't miss your ult, and get a quick auto attack in. Then ult them into the wall and finish off with a W, auto attack and terrain Q. There are not many champions who can survive this full combo, especially if you have Ignite and you've purchased your serrated Dirk. You can also lead with your ultimate if their positioning allows it though. Use your ultimate, then your Q, E, auto attack, W, and finally finish them off with your Q and another auto attack if you feel like you need it. When you've got your Prowler's Claw, your combos have so much more potential. Remember that this item amplifies your damage against that target by 15% for the next 3 seconds, so it's always better to use it as early as possible. The first combo is a quick fake all-in with Prowler's Claw. Start with Q, then W and Prowler's Claw on an auto attack, and then EQ out to finish. This is a great way to get a quick burst trade-off or to force enemy summoner spells by making them think that you are committing. Having Prowler's Claw also allows you to dive your enemies and save your E to finish off your combo and escape at the same time. This can be done in a manner of ways, but the most common way is this. Start with your ultimate, throw out your Q, then W and Prowler's to cancel the W animation. Get a quick auto attack off and then EQ out to safety. Getting the hang of this combo is pretty difficult, but when you do, you can really abuse the strengths of this champion and her ability to snowball out of control. All of the combos we've selected here are mainly for single targets, but don't forget that Qiyana's ultimate and Qs can also hit entire teams, so don't be afraid to apply this in your team fights too. Tip number 2 is a few quick tips and tricks that you may not know about. There are quite a few unique tips and tricks and interactions for this champion, and if we were to list them all, we'd be here until Christmas. So we've covered here what we feel are the most important ones to help you climb ranks with this champion. The first one is that you can Q flash to surprise your enemies and catch them off guard with your damage. A common way to use this is to execute your opponent with your terrain Q. This does work well with all 3 elements though. It can be used to flash root an enemy and catch them out, or kill an enemy and also get away free with your invisibility at the same time. Qiyana's E is a fixed distance dash which has some really handy uses. You can use it to dash through minion waves to land your QWQ on your enemies, and you can use it on other champions in teamfights to gap close onto your higher priority targets. If you use your E when your opponent is directly on top of you, you'll go much further. This works really well when you get ganked if there's no minion wave, as you can wait for the jungler to be right next to you and then dash straight through them to safety. It also works when chasing your enemies to predict their own flashes and follow them. This can also be used in the jungle to jump over walls and escape certain death. You can cast your ultimate during your W, E or Prowler's Claw animations. This is a key way to save time and make those combos look so much cleaner and quicker. You can also R flash like you can with a lot of champions, and this is awesome on Qiyana due to the sheer potency of this ability. Seeing as the direction of your ultimate is also really important, these are crucial for repositioning yourself to make sure you push your enemies into the right walls. You can also combine your E, W or Prowlers with flash to make it even more unpredictable and get even more style points. Tip number 3 is all about limit testing and snowball potential. So one thing about Qiyana is that you simply have to play aggressive. She's not the type of champion that you can just sit in lane and farm on and hope for a bit of a coin flip. Qiyana is only really a good champion when she's being abused, and this is why limit testing is a monumental part of playing her. Her damage and one-shot potential is simply huge, but if you never actually use it, you're not playing her correctly. Try to trade often and judge your damage based on your level and your items. If you get used to how much damage you do, you will understand how you can all-in more often and snowball the game far easier. Generally, a good rule to go by is pre-6 you can kill a lot of matchups when they are sitting at around 60% HP. This is a bit of a sweet spot for your kill threat with your basic abilities, auto attacks and ignite. Now don't get me wrong, some matchups you can kill them at level 1, some at 2, 3 and so on, and some only with your ultimate, but learning these matchups is a big part of learning this champion, so keep playing her and keep testing your limits. Post 6 though, you can basically just kill your enemy every time your ultimate is up. Try to time your first ultimates all in after picking up your serrated Dirk. If you've started longsword, you can get this item really quickly, and this means you can just get stuck in and start snowballing as soon as possible. When playing against a champion that is massively respecting you and playing super defensive, you have 2 main options. The first one is to burn their defensive cooldowns with a fake all in and then just go for the throat and dive them with the combos that we mentioned earlier. If this isn't an option however, due to the way that they're playing or the certain matchup not allowing it, don't be afraid to roam. On Qiyana, you want to be using your ultimate every single time it's off cooldown, and Qiyana is excellent at roaming and ganking other lanes. Head downstairs to the bot lane and set up a 2 or 3 man ultimate, and this could easily grant you and your team a ton of gold and potentially even an objective. Moving on to tip number 4 now, which is all about Qiyana's element choices and their uses. So this is a pretty simple and quick tip, but you should definitely know and understand when and how to use each of your elements. So Qiyana's terrain Q deals bonus damage to enemies that are on less than 50% health. Now this is a core thing to note when trading, bursting, fighting and farming in general. This should primarily always be used at the end of combos to finish off and execute your enemies. Your river element Q roots targets hit. Now this should be used mainly to set up ganks for your jungler or to guarantee landing your own ultimate. Most champions won't have anything in their kit that will allow them to dodge your R if you land your blue Q, so this is a simple way to make sure it hits. And if your ultimate hits, then it's probably a good chance that they're going to end up dead. This element is also great when running away from enemies, as you can throw it behind you to prevent them from chasing you. Your brush element is probably one of the most amazing parts of your entire kit though. This is your main element to use in team fights and skirmishes, as it's the main thing that will keep you alive in situations where you don't just simply one-shot your opponents. You want to almost spam this ability when you're fighting against multiple targets or when you're fighting at lower health. Be careful you don't use any other abilities or auto attacks whilst you're hiding in the invisibility though, as it will reveal you. It should also be noted that this won't protect you from AoE abilities, so use the movement speed it provides to dodge them instead. Your brush Q is also fantastic in certain matchups to pop in and trade quickly without any chance of retaliation. Don't forget that when you are fighting an enemy, your element will empower your auto attack to that target due to your passive. You can choose a different element whilst trading to proc this passive twice and deal more damage overall. Moving on to the last tip of the day now, and we're going to cover 3 of Qiyana's most commonly faced matchups and how to play them. The first one is Irelia, and she is definitely a difficult matchup for Qiyana. Irelia is always going to win the extended fights for the majority of the game with her passive, conqueror and just general attack speed and auto attack damage. Qiyana likes to burst and all in, but she's never as good in those extended duels, and instead she'll have to rely on her brush element Q a lot of the time to keep herself alive and wait for enemy cooldowns to be down. Luckily you do have mobility on your side in this matchup though, so keep your E or W up to make sure you dodge her stun. You also want to focus on fighting her before she can stack her passive up on the minion wave. Good wave management will allow you to do this more often, so try and keep it clean and don't let your minion wave get too big. If this is the case, she can stack her passive easily and she gets extra mobility and sustain from queuing through those minions. Your brush element Q will really come in handy in this lane, whether you want to overextend for some farm or just get a quick trade off. The great thing about Qiyana is she always has the opportunity to outplay her enemies when they're all in. Irelia is known for aggressive diving potential, so try and get behind her and ult her into your turret to shut her down. Despite this being a difficult matchup, if you get a lead you can still kill her on repeat just like any other champion. Akali is the second one we're going to talk about today, and it's a really common matchup for Qiyana at the moment, and to be honest it's a lot of fun. Just like most games against Akali, you want to play against her Shroud. You can either use your brush element Q to match it, or you can just use your mobility to wait it out. Pre-6 Akali is not quite as strong as you are, so you can use this time to kill her and get an advantage on top of her, especially if she has low energy. This could be a great time to fight her. If Akali uses her E on you, try and position yourself near a wall so that you can instantly ult her if she uses her E too. You'll also need to be really careful of her dodging your ultimate with hers. Try to hit her with your river element Q first to ensure she doesn't just dash out of it. Either way, this is a very snowbally matchup, so if you do misplay early you might struggle to recover, but both champions are always capable of outplaying the other. Vladimir is the last one we're going to talk about today, and it's definitely one of the easier matchups for Qiyana. Now despite him having the ranged advantage, his damage early game isn't that great, and this means you almost always are able to outduel him. Pay attention to his empowered Qs and fight him and trade with him as soon as he's used it. Vladimir's W obviously allows him to dodge a lot of your damage, however you can burst him quick enough so that he can't actually use it in time. To do this, sit out of vision and use your E and then your ultimate before he has time to press his W, and this should give you enough time to kill him quick enough. Alternatively, if he ever uses it poorly or wastes it, he's pretty much a free kill for you. The cooldown is much higher than your basic abilities, so he simply cannot lane when it's down. Don't forget, Qiyana's roaming potential is amazing, so don't be afraid to get stuck in and around the map and punish other lanes whilst Vladimir is sat in lane farming. As the game goes on, Vladimir will scale up well and become a little bit of a problem, leaning towards those mid to late game teamfights, but if you can put him far behind early game, you'll probably win fights before he gets strong enough. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of this 5 tips video for Qiyana. We really hope you enjoyed it, and as we mentioned earlier, let us know in the comments who you want to see next. That's all from us here at Mobalytics, and we'll see you next time. Take care.